Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Thursday, the 9th day of February 2023, Thursday of the 5th week of the year, the 5th week in Ordinary Time. Coming to you this morning from the front of our cafeteria, right there, Jacoba Hall, and then this is the back of Juniper Hall, where our first grade and kindergartners are. And then there's kind of our Juniper Garden, which, again, we had to cut everything down for the winter, but now on this beautiful 70-degree day today in Carolina, the spring is starting to spring in this little garden over here, so it's kind of very nice this morning. The readings for today on this Thursday of the 5th week of the year we continue with the concern scripture, yes, but they continue with Genesis, and the second part of Genesis 2, where the man who has been placed into the garden, a man just known as the man, not given a name yet, but a man placed into this garden, tending it, whatever, but God recognizing that it's not good for the man to be alone. Genesis 2 reveals a whole bunch of things about God that could be quite troubling for those who have such a narrow view of God, that God's perfection gets in the way of God. For God to realize that it's not good for the man to be alone seems something that an omnipotent being would know from the very start and would have gone about creating, things to partner with man and what have you. In Genesis 1, again, the creation of all of humanity, the creation of everything as it should be, in one way, is completed, and God seems in more control in Genesis 1 than God seems to be in Genesis 2. But Genesis 2 sometimes becomes the reading that we look to, the gospel passages that we look to for our understandings of ourselves as human beings, which again can become problematic, as we will see. So the man should not be alone, and so God decides to kind of create something to accompany the man, to be companions for the man, and they're animals first. And again, the man names the animals, and again, the name that the man gives to the animal is kept by the animal. But then God realizes that that's not enough. So again, the omnipotent being that God is, you would think that God knows right off the bat that a man needs another human being and not just an animal. And it takes a couple of tries before God realizes that. And then God takes the rib out of the man and creates woman. The thing about it always is that man is made out of dirt, and the breath of God is placed into the man, and he lives. Woman is not made out of dirt. She's made out of a rib that comes out of the man, but she's enclosed with flesh. Again, the man has flesh, but again is dirt. That doesn't happen with the woman. So there is this kind of uniqueness to the creation of women that Genesis 2 recognizes, which is important in so many ways. So it is to be remembered. The woman is given to the man, and again as a gift, which is bizarre anyway, and the man claims her, and then says that this is part of me because my rib made her, and things like that. And it just ends with them being naked and not feeling any shame. Kind of a foreboding for what is to fall in the next chapter. So again, this sort of lovey-doveyness between this man and this woman created by a God who finally realizes, after trial and error, that this man needs something more. Again, our God is much more than we can ever imagine, and much more we can think. And again, when we limit our God to certain contraptions and understandings that we as human beings have created, we jeopardize the wonder, the beauty of God, and the surprises, perhaps, that we can realize from being a part of this life of this God. Genesis 2, unique. In the gospel today, we have another wonderful narration of another woman, a woman who is not a Jew, but who knows that Jesus can cure her daughter. This is in other gospels, it's the woman herself who needs a cure, but it's her daughter who is possessed by a demon or whatever it is, and she basically says to Jesus, "Will you please help me?" And Jesus says no, because Jesus is being a bit of a jerk, and that's the thing. Jesus is being insensitive, he's being exclusive, he's being horrible, and he basically calls her a dog, and perhaps an unsightly word for dog, because it's the children should eat from the table and not the dogs, and then the woman in her intelligence basically says, yes, but the dogs can eat the scraps, can't they? And Jesus is awakened to perhaps his mission being more to other people also than just the Jews. comes, and the woman's daughter is the demon leaves her, and what have you. But again, it is this woman's ability to contend with God, her ability to get what it is that she needs for her daughter, because that's what parents will do. And even if God in Jesus is a tad bit reluctant and even jerky about it, the woman's persistence and her ability to talk without fear, to this man from Nazareth, this miracle worker, this Messiah, enables God to work to heal her daughter and to make everything right. Something for us to consider always, is that if God doesn't give us what we want right off the bat, we need persistence, and we need to be able to know that we can talk to God without fear of punishment, without fear of pain and whatever it is, without, getting into trouble or what have you. That is the wonder and beauty of our relationship with God. We who are the image and likeness of God have the ability to speak to God on terms that would be speaking to a friend or speaking to someone who knows our needs and who wants to help us. And may the Lord give you his peace.